My name is Michael Rickards, and this is the Hall Institute's Public Policy Forum. I'm delighted to have with me today my colleague, Jarrett Chapin from the Hall Institute, and our guest is a person that's known to many of you, Joyce Powell, the president of the New Jersey Education Association, the largest teacher union in the state. President Powell, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Well, thank you for inviting me. We're really pleased for NJEA to be here today.
Tell us a little bit about your career.
Oh, certainly. Mike, I started out as a classroom teacher in Vineland, New Jersey, which is in southern New Jersey, halfway between Philadelphia and Atlantic City, teaching behaviorally disordered children, children who had difficulty coping, difficulty learning, and taught in Vineland for 23 years, and then I became an officer with the NJEA back in 1996, and I've been an officer with the NJEA as the Secretary-Treasurer for 4 years, the Vice President for 4 years, and now as the President, I'm in the second term of a 2-year term.
Very good. We're delighted to have you here. Tell us a little bit about, as the election approaches, what really is the NJEA and the NEA's agenda for education? There doesn't seem to be much discussion among the major candidates about education this year.
Well, we're very concerned about the lack of the priority in terms of education at the national level. I've listened to many of the candidates, and they all say we need to reform education. We need to ensure that we have high-quality public schools and that we have high-quality educational opportunities for all children. But unfortunately, there hasn't been much in terms of the debate. There hasn't been much in terms of any kind of national policies that they're really talking about, and that's somewhat disappointing because in the United States we spend a lot of money, particularly at the state level, on education, and certainly it should be, I think, more of a priority. I will tell you that at the national level it's very disappointing that out of a budget of trillions of dollars, only 2% of the national budget is spent on education, which tends to make one think that it really isn't a priority on the federal level. As you know, in your own household, where you expend your own resources tells a lot about who you are as an individual. And that happens for a state, it happens for a country. If we look at some of our neighbors, some of other countries, we see that in India, a tremendous percentage of their federal dollars are spent in education. And that has helped them come from a low level of providing educational services to a much higher level. So it really does make a difference.
Looking abroad, you said India. Immigrants in New Jersey, I hear specifically that Hispanics make up nearly 40 to 50% of our dropout rates nationally. How does New Jersey look like in that frame?
Well, generally, New Jersey follows the national trend. We're not usually abnormal in that particular area as well. I don't know the exact statistic, but I would think that we would probably be very close to the national average. I will tell you that, particularly here in New Jersey, we do have a high diverse population. In some local districts, particularly in Elizabeth, something like 58 languages are spoken in that community. So the demands that places on our schools and the demands that places on the community certainly are much greater than in a community where you have kind of a mono, language of speakers. So we have to be, I think, ever vigilant about providing activities for children who are English language learners, and for certainly for minority groups that we need to look at how we can address the dropout rate. The dropout rate, and particularly in New Jersey, we have the highest number of high school graduates in the nation. Now, it is true that particularly in our Abbot districts and our needy districts, that we do have a high percentage of students who are going through the SRA process, but I think that we can be very proud of New Jersey and what we've accomplished. We're one of the 5 smart states in the nation. We have a high per capita income. And we also have some of those dreaded situations with, high property taxes and high auto insurance rates and all of those things that go along with having, high per capita income. We have more college graduates in New Jersey working and living in New Jersey than many other states. So we're pretty fortunate.
In regard to immigration, though, what sort of challenges does that pose for educators and schools, and what are we doing to meet those challenges?
Well, I mentioned the number of languages that are being spoken in particular communities. So it means for the school that we have to address the needs of all the students, particularly students who have a different first language. It poses some challenge to the districts to be able to do that. First of all, teachers have to have a tremendous amount of training so that they know how to deal with cultural differences, so that they know how to deal with language differences, and family differences. That there are many other there are many other customs that have to be dealt with in some communities in terms of even religious customs that must be taken into consideration. So it does pose a challenge. But if teachers are trained, if the school personnel, the other personnel within the building understand that we have a diverse population and they have also some activities to familiarize them with the customs and culture of other individuals, I think that we can be very successful in providing high-quality programs. It might mean, and when I started teaching in Vineland, we had a high Hispanic population. I had to learn some of the language, so that I could communicate with parents. I had to learn some of the customs. We often, as a teacher, we often say to a student, look at me when I'm speaking to you. Well, in some cultures, it is disrespectful to look at someone, and so a person may have their eyes diverted down. So teachers and school professionals, other school personnel, need to be aware of those kinds of customs so that we don't have a different expectation, and we understand why students are reacting the way they're reacting, and also we know that work ethic is we have to make sure that we provide a work ethic for students to model.
We're going to take a break, come back, and ask you to expand a little bit on the issue that you mentioned, Abbot schools.